Let's bring our directors up. Ken Rodgers, Courtland, Bragg, give them a round of applause. I really would like to go back to the beginning, particularly the interview. How'd you guys come across it? What was the plan there, and how you decide to say, "Hey, we really want to go on this journey and make this film"?
So I was part of the show in 2004 on NFL Films Presents that involved the original interview, and I remember seeing it was in my 20s, and I saw it as one way. I saw it as a condemnation of religion, and I thought it was so striking. I thought it was very simple and uncomplicated. And over the last 20 years, it never left my head. I always thought about it, and as I grew older, it became more nuanced, and I started thinking, this is something that relates to today. This is a conversation that Reggie was having with himself that's appropriate for all of us to have in society today, in this divided society of what do I believe, and is there a way to meet in the middle with people who might feel otherwise? Belief is something that's very personal, but it is malleable, and so I kept thinking about that, and I had this young man next to me who was a preacher's kid that I work with closely, and it just felt like the perfect partner to tell this story. So it all began with that interview, and I remember showing it to Courtland and saying, so this is the basis of a film. And I think Courtland went through his own journey as a preacher's kid. So it started with that, and it took 20 years to marinate, but I think today, and the way society is today, is the right time for this film. It might not have been as powerful 5 years ago, 10 years ago, certainly 15 years ago.
I mean, I was 12 years old when that interview was shot.
Making me old, man.
But I agree with Ken. Just being able to come on to the project and my own personal attachment to the project. And one thing I just want to say is this project was very personal to me, being a PK or a preacher's kid, growing up the son of a pastor and the grandson of a pastor, and I have pastoralship in my bloodline. So I grew up in the church. So I related to Reggie, I related to Jeremy, and one of the things about this film is I feel like Reggie, his gift to me was just allowing me to re-examine my own beliefs and things that I learned in the church, and for me to just see my own truth, my own spiritual truth. So, and it starts with that interview.
Obviously, you talk about your relationship with your family and the legacy of that. What was the relationship like with Jeremy and the White family and broaching that, and what was that process like? And have they seen the film? What do they think?
Yeah. First, I want to just go off script a little bit. I just want to personally speak to Sarah. Sarah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for trusting me and NFL Films, trusting Ken, allowing us to kidnap your son and take him across the country. We took Jeremy to Green Bay, to Chattanooga, Knoxville, Charlotte, Philadelphia, South Jersey, and I believe the question is, what was it like working with the White family? It was amazing. I joke, I would call Sarah and it should be a 5-minute conversation. We talked for 45 minutes, and I'm like, Sarah, I gotta go. The baby's waking up. But it just speaks to, I just can't say enough. I'm just so thankful for giving us this opportunity. And Jeremy, unfortunately, wasn't able to be here, but just being able to grow with him and to learn with him. And I know I speak on behalf of Ken as well. It was awesome. And hopefully you feel like we did a good job.
When you tell people, hey, we're making this film about Reggie White, and there's a lot of people that sat for that film, what was that like? What were the reactions? And in general, what was the interest? You approached people. A lot of people decided to sit down and have a lot of poignant things to say. So curious about that.
I'll tell you, it was almost impossible to find anyone that had anything remotely negative to say about this man. Like, that's just the truth. Everyone we spoke to, we would say things like, was there a little flaw somewhere? No. Was there, okay, maybe, gullible, maybe little something, but the love that they expressed, there was no one that turned down an interview. There was no one that didn't say, please tell Sarah we give our best. There was no one that didn't cry, thinking about his passing. The love, the effect he had on people, there's hours of stuff on the cutting room floor of people testimony about how Reggie changed their lives. And I've never encountered anyone in my 23 years at NFL Films that garnered that sort of love. No other player, no other owner, no coach, nobody that we've ever made a film about is loved like Reggie.
The film is beautiful for an archival heavy film. The interviews are shot so well done, and they really evoke emotion and really pull the entire piece together. Can you talk about the process? Like, why did you want to make it feel the way it did through the look?
Well, credit there goes to our director of photography.
Hannah, where you at?
Hannah Epstein.
Where's Hannah at? I don't see her.
Brilliant cinematographer, and does incredible work on various projects. And we can't take any credit here. We basically said, this is a film that isn't going to be about the football field only. It's going to be about belief and this faith. And I think what we said is we want it to feel like Reggie's around. And where would he feel around? It would be in a church. So I think we kind of came up with, how about a church? And the rest credit goes to Hannah. Certainly a lot of thought in the lighting and bringing, if you go back and watch it when it airs, hopefully on December 13th on ESPN, the light streaming in from the back of shots and back of windows and the use of the windows. We wanted to make it feel like Reggie was there, and I think Hannah pulled that off brilliantly. Thank you, Hannah.
Now, the archive I'm curious about, you obviously had the original interview, but what else was there? What did the White family share? Like, what was it like putting this all together?
I just want to give a special shout out to our production assistants and loggers. We have two, Arjun and Zach. They probably have seen more footage of Reggie White than any human on this earth. Just countless hours of relentless research that went into this. This is a year and a half plus that we've been working on this. And, also special shout out to Sarah again. She provided all the home videos, those great home videos and photos, and it just really added to the film. So a lot of, and, the unfortunate thing about TV is there's only a certain amount of time, so there's so much. There could have been a 4-hour documentary, a 2-parter, but 2 hours was the best fit for this, and there'll be more Reggie White stories.
Yeah.
Trust me that.
And the amount of footage that was gathered from other sources, I believe Melissa Collins is here, our footage acquisition coordinator. Just to get that in, I mean, anyone who makes archive films know, like, that is very, very hard just to find. It's even harder to get copies of. It's really hard to license and get clean copies of. We're still going through that. I shouldn't say that out loud, but we still a couple things in there we have to clear. Now, she did a great job, and I was just struck by every time Jeremy came on screen as a child.
Yeah.
In the locker room after the Super Bowl, to me, is my favorite scene. I think they're the things that's why you should just shoot everything, because 25 years later you watch it and you say, oh my gosh, that guy is now an adult and can talk about it, and it's magic.
Wow. Any questions out in the crowd? Got time for a few.
All right, don't go all at once.
I know. I thought I saw one in the back. Okay, here, yes.
Yeah. in any of the interviews that Reggie gave before he passed, did he mention anything regarding his comments on gay people, or whether it was remorse or just any sort of mention of those comments that they've made in the past?
Not that we found, and I'd like to think that when he said there, I can't say it on camera, that it was an indication that he was going through it. He was in the middle of it. I think that's the tragic irony of his death. When it comes to that subject, it's obviously tragic for so many reasons, but when it comes to that subject, it's tragically ironic that he was in the middle of what I think was probably a transformation, at the very least, of more understanding and more empathy and more relationships to others that would have been positive. I think if he were alive today, he would be such a positive force. I think that's undeniable. And I can't think anything other than in that realm he would be a positive force as well. It's just who he was as a person, bringing people together. So I think what you see in that interview, literally 2 months before he died, 2 months to the day, was him right in the middle of figuring that question out. And I think that's the power of that interview and the pain of that interview.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
Sarah. Thank you, Ken. Unfortunately, comments that were made on screen, because you have to give everyone a chance to say their truth and what they feel, and everyone has deserves to have feelings. And with the two journalists, they never met Reggie. They never sat down with Reggie. They had an opinion about Reggie of what they heard. They never addressed that he said he loved everyone. And I'm thinking this gentleman asked about the gay people. Reggie never disliked gay people or anybody. All he felt like is, he says, sin is sin is sin. Being a thief, a robber, murderer, homosexuality, it's the sin in your mind. He went on to say it's the sin in your mind before you profess it, before you act out on it. That's we have to renew our minds so that we won't fall into sin. Well, when people want to attack you, they will put words into your mouth. Reggie loved and respected, and we did sit down with many people that did not have the male, the female choice of relationships. No problem. So everyone should know he didn't have a problem. I was in the Army for 4 years, and I had lots and lots of lesbian people in my platoon that I actually, because I was a commander there, and I had no issues. He didn't have any issues of me serving. And just so you know, it didn't take the revelation, Ken, that he was talking about. It was prior to that, but he did continue to have progressive revelation about so many other things.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
We have time for one more.
How much, in terms of like talking about context of present day and how it's relevant now, there's a lot of observations on both sides of whatever the opinion may be as to what is a convenient or inconvenient statement, what is right to say, what is wrong to say. Within your investigation and reporting and your documentation of Reggie, how much of today's influence of you said the right thing, you said the wrong thing, played into how you wove the story together?
I actually believe that that is the purpose of this type of documentary, is to have people ask that question to each other. So we didn't want to answer any questions as to how Reggie would feel today. We actually had a section originally that was, here's what Reggie would say today, here's who he would be today. And it felt like conjecture, and it felt like even if we think we were right, it was unfair to do to Reggie's family and to his legacy. And so I think everyone will come at this film in that present tense, in that that's fine that this story is told in the past, but boy, it relates to today. It relates to me now. And how should I feel about this? How should I deal with this? How do I reconcile my faith and what I believe versus what other people believe in their faith? And our hope is really that different people, exactly what Jeremy said at the end of the film. If you're afraid to talk to other people because you think they're the enemy, because they think so differently than you that there's no way you can get along, that's all right. Go ahead and have that talk. And as Sarah just said, they had those talks, and I think Reggie would today be having those talks and bringing people together. Maybe not in agreement, but bringing them together. So we feel like leaving the film right where you're pointing to, which is how does today's viewpoint, where does that lead all of us? Reggie's sort of leading us, and it's up to us. The next steps, he's not here, the next steps are up to us. So that's sort of what we want to leave you with.
Perfect. Very well said. Can we give a round of applause? Courtland Bragg, Ken Rodgers, Minister of Defense. Amazing film. You can vote for it as well for the Audience Award, so please vote for the film. Thank you guys both.